Welcome to Getting a Grip. I think that's what I'm calling this. Getting a Grip here on my Substack Live. I think I'm 1 minute early, so I'll wait a little bit for people to show up. So when we last left our story, I was probably complaining about something. Today it's overwhelmed. Today it's injustice overwhelm. I'm having an injustice overwhelmed day. So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about how difficult it is to have so many things going on that don't seem like there is any redeeming. There are no redeeming qualities about. It's not an easy time as we see people being held accountable for their involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, as we see people all around the world being held accountable by their governments. And we see Trump floundering once again on the world stage. I can't even remember what they're calling this board of peace thing that's made up of war criminals. I mean, they're bombing boats in Venezuela of innocent fishermen. They're invading Venezuela, bomb, in the past bombing Iran and saying, we got all the nuclear factories or, where they build the weapons. And so it's really been challenging. And this morning, when I recognized that the former leader of South Korea, who tried to impose martial law and basically have a coup and stay in power, he's got a life sentence in prison. Prince Andrew was arrested. Many very, very wealthy men are needing to step down. I took it a couple screenshots. You can catch me on my video I make later, and we'll go over that. So, yeah, and he's trying to take $10 billion. Trump is trying to take $10 billion from us to pay for his, what are these? The Board of Peace, is he calling it? And this man is the most criminal person on the entire planet in history, in a very long history of the world. He is the most criminal person who even attacked his own country and continues to attack his own country. The only reason that Trump has ever had any money is because of America, right? And how many times he stole, well, he didn't pay his taxes. I mean, what we learned is that he paid in all his career, if you can call it a career, as a businessman, he only paid under $1,000 in taxes. There is not a crime that he hasn't committed as I'm thinking about it. Can anyone think of a crime that he hasn't committed? It's definitely true that if you follow the, I think it's just Catholicism, the 7 deadly sins, he's guilty of all of them. Or he's definitely broken all 10 commandments. So he's broken every law, every rule, every sense of semblance of order and doing the right thing, broken every single one of them. And he expects applause. And he pardons all the criminals. He pardons all the crimes. So what we have now is everything's flipped upside down. So the criminals are lauded. They're applauded. Oh, you're a criminal. Oh, good. Well, if you're a criminal and you pledge loyalty to Trump, then you're good. So this morning, when I recognized that he's in the files 1 million times, reportedly, that's what we heard from good sources, 1 million times, more than anybody else in the world, I feel certain. And they're all being held accountable, all the others, not all of them, but a fair amount of them thus far. And he is in the position of President of the United States. So where is the justice, and what do we do with this anger and frustration about justice not appearing to happen? What does this do to us as a nation? Is it going to destroy us? We heard about the concentration camp situation, of which we're only hearing little bits and pieces of. The little 2-month-old baby that had a medical emergency. There was no doctor on the premises. They're just letting people die. She got rushed to a hospital. I don't know the status now. There are about 4,000 children held up in detention centers. We've got to get these to not be built, and people are stepping up, and people are speaking out, and they're getting there. They're getting these detention centers to not be built. But I know how infuriating it is, and I'm just curious. I know I only have like a few people here, and Hope is saying the most. Do you all, do you know what I mean? This isn't easy. This is hard. I think this is the hardest thing that we've ever had to bear witness to. What we're learning is that we're not supposed to bear witness to it. We're supposed to put a stop to it. And we know that when we left it up to Congress, all the things that he's supposed to get passed through Congress, he's not getting congressional approval. He's just doing it anyway. He gloats when he's committing a crime. It's like he's doing a little happy jig, a happy jiggly jig. So we are in a place where, you know, that protest sign that I'm sure you've seen. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention. If you're paying attention, you're really damn angry. And it's not healthy if we're paying attention and we're really damn angry and nothing is being done, even when we are doing everything that we can. We just get a little bit of the way, a little smidgen of the way. I think it's important for us to get together and talk about how unbelievably frustrating it is. I think it's really, really important that we address this. I think the other thing that's really important is that we acknowledge that what I was talking about yesterday, that if we don't set boundaries in our own personal lives, people will walk all over us like doormats, like we're a doormat. And every semblance of not standing up for oneself, everything, we benefit, I feel, by going within and asking ourselves, when have we compromised ourselves in our own personal lives? I think it's a helpful exercise. I find that it's helpful. And I know that it's hard to stand up for oneself. I think it's hard for most people that are decent and don't want to, like, stir up the hornet's nest. I know it's hard to not stand up for oneself, but the price that we pay for not standing up for ourselves is ginormous. It can be. And it can be the worst possible thing that we do. So we've been in a society that just allowed us to be complacent, programmed us to be more concerned about our fashion, our cars, our careers, our go lifestyle. Remember the .com era? It was like the busier you were and the more Starbucks you were drinking and the more you were online, the more important you seemed. Nowadays, it's the more money you're making, the more important society will see you to be. These people that are the tech bros and the mega billionaires, they didn't earn that. It doesn't make them more worthy of praise and adulation that they happen to have been born into wealthy families. And they're trying to sell this to us. They're attempting to give us a no choice situation. And that is crossing a line. Whenever anybody presents us with, you got to do what I say, I'm going to just shove it down your throat. You don't have any choice. That is an assault. And every single thing that we're facing right now with this regime is a type of assault. And it is bullying. And it is criminal. And it is authoritarian. And it is time for us to say, we take dominion over what happens to us individually, personally, and in the collective. Now we're being called upon to do it in the collective. I just think that it's harder when we're out of practice with standing up for ourselves. It's harder when we're out of practice. And Michelle was saying PTSD. And what I want to say about that is I believe, this is my belief system, that our triggers are coming up in order that we can look at them and heal them. Everybody has some level of PTSD. I've never met a person, and I work with people and have for years and years. I've never met a person that doesn't have some trauma. So during these really pressurized times, what happens is we get under pressure and we get to notice our habits, our behavior. Do we retreat or do we fight? Do we stand up for ourselves? Going along to get along is not the most peaceful path. There are risks that we take when we go along to get along. Now we've been going along in this country and we're not even getting along, right? We're starting to, these certain things are starting to dovetail into, okay, now we're starting to at least have common ground. Having him in those files a million times and knowing full well that they were buddies, two peas in a pod, knowing that was going on, what was going on, we're getting more and more information, but we know the basic gist of what they were doing on that island and those other locations. We have a pretty good idea. And the MAGAs, I mean, whoever thought that, Marge would leave her position, she would just resign, and Nancy Mace, and I mean, these people, Lauren Boebert, that are very, very challenging to us because of how much they've assaulted our democracy, for one thing. They're coming on board with, we need to see the files. And the MAGAs in Congress are pretending that it has to do with politics, and it doesn't. So the people that voted for Trump, many of them, Trump's approval level is way, way, way down. Way down. So we're finding common ground. So we don't have to feel as divided. So these things will dovetail, and we will find that common ground. And we will have one another to kind of talk to one another. Imagine that, talking to one another. We'll have one another to talk to about what this is bringing up in us. It is not pretty for anybody. It's not pretty when we just take the abuse. It's led to, on the collective level in America, it's led to them robbing us blind. Trump has stolen everything from us. Let's just have a moment of reality check. He's stolen, and he's in the process of stealing everything from us. And we're all, in life doing what we always did, filing our income tax, paying our share, and he's taking it and pocketing it and buddying up with Putin. I know it's hard. I know I shouldn't be saying that. I mean, I hate to censor myself, but they've stolen everything. It's going to be hard for us to get that back. Collectively, we haven't drawn the line. We haven't stood up for ourselves. So our only hope at this point is to have a one mind consciousness. And what I mean by that is we decide what it is that we all agree on. Basics. You don't assault, abuse, and traffic people. You don't do that. You don't do that. You don't do that with anybody. You just don't. The United States of America runs the risk of being seen as a country with no morals, no line. So Michelle's saying, I can't for the life of me figure out how this is allowed to continue. That's my fury is over justice not served. And I know people are fuming over this. And I'm fortunate to have a place to come so I can vent. And you guys can join me. And thanks for showing up. What it is, if I can offer you an explanation, is that this whole thing that we're in has been set up for many years now. It's been set up for a long time, for many years. They're incrementally getting in. It started with Ronald Reagan bringing religion into politics, the Christian nationalist movement getting really stirred up, the right-wing extremists, the hating Democrats. It was all out of insatiable greed, wanting all the money and wanting all the power, and wanting people that didn't have as much money to stay in their places, like the lords and the serfs from the medieval days, right? Throughout human history. And then we got the enemy collusion, I'll say, colluding with the enemy, and some kind of quid pro quo, apparently. I mean, it doesn't take a psychic, you just connect the dots, right? A bunch of Republicans in 2018 went to the Kremlin on the 4th of July. I am really, really surprised that this isn't common knowledge, that people wonder what happened. I'm really surprised that this isn't common knowledge. Deals were made. The United States of America has been really the thorn in the side of all authoritarian dictatorships, all the authoritarian countries. What they hate about the United States of America is that the people speak and their voices are heard. After an election, what is it customary to say? When all the votes are in, the people have spoken. And we have been the wealthiest country in the world until we're not, which is where we are now. We have been the most powerful country in the world and the wealthiest country in the world and the freest country for the longest period of time in the world. And boy, if you were an enemy to the United States and you had the means, wouldn't you do anything possible to take us down? So the reason nothing has been done is because of the complicity of MAGA Republicans, the ones that were in on January 6th, and the connections to the Kremlin, because Trump is Putin's puppet. And so these complicit MAGA Republicans will not do anything to stop it. We can't count on them. Citizens United, in addition to them colluding in some way with our enemies, Citizens United ensured that people weren't listening like they should have been. People in positions of leadership weren't listening to their constituents because the lobbyists, big corporations, had paid them to not listen to their constituents. Things are out of control. And now that we see, by the way, mainstream media is not covering the Epstein files, from what I hear. They are complicit. This has been a long-term plan. Get the United States of America to have a destroyed democracy. Destroy the people because they don't stand up for themselves anyhow. Our enemy countries got to see that we were too busy with other things. They got to see, and maybe they helped create the covering up of what was really important to a democracy, getting us all hypnotized with other things. Like I talked about what corporate did, giving us all this glossy glam, these images that everyone should be like this, where we should all be Gap girls and boys and, all the rest of it. Go to the mall all the time. Remember the malls? They got in because we were distracted. They made sure we were distracted, and that's how they got in. And now we find ourselves here in this time of absolute chaos. Too much news, not even knowing what to focus on anymore. So let's make a little list of priorities. How do you feel about there being a State of the Union address coming up next week? I'm not saying that's a first priority, but I do want to know what you're doing in terms of calling your representatives about how you feel about the Democrats attending the State of the Union. Because the State of the Union is when you have a democracy and you have a president that's working, that understands his role of working for the people. That's what a State of the Union is about. I would call my representatives, if I were you, I'm going to do the same and tell them to not go to the State of the Union. One of the most important things, and I think the most important thing that we need to really focus on, is we have to shut down these concentration camps before they're built, and we have to have the ones that are built and holding detainees, innocent people. And even if any of them are not innocent, this is not what we do to people, even when they've committed a crime. But very few of them have committed crimes. Get them to be shut down and free the detainees. You're not watching it? Of course you're not watching the State of the Union. Who would watch that? We're at the point right now that most people can't stand to look at them or listen to them. There's no way on God's earth that I would watch it. Anyway, Hope is just saying she's not watching. I'm definitely not watching. It shouldn't even be happening. This is the most criminal human being in a leadership position in the world in a very long time. The last time was Adolf. That it was that someone would be that criminal that he is. It's my opinion. But I think that we can venture to say, he's a really bad, Trump is a really awful, terrible criminal. How did this happen? How it happened is the criminals in our government, they love to commit crimes. And they figured out, like Trump figured out, if he's a genius at anything, it's how to con people and how to play the legal system. And don't think there aren't threats going on all the time. Threats to judges and threats to prosecutors. I'm sure it's constant. So we have to get those concentration camps shut down. All the people in this regime are unqualified for the positions that they are in. And if we want to talk about the universe giving us a message, look at this cast of characters. Yeah, I know Michelle's crying. It is so sad. Yeah. And I just want us to feel angry and empowered by the anger, because I really want to do my best to get everyone to understand. I know you're saying it's got to end soon. Let's change that. I'm going to end this soon. We are ending this soon. We are doing it. The moment that we're in is the moment where, if you want to talk about universal messages, it's the moment where the universe is saying, really? Are you really all just going to sit there and wait for it to change? Right? You get my point. I'm not picking on you. When we collectively help each other to switch that conversation from, I hope it gets better, to, we're making it change, that's when we have power. That's when that's when we stop the tears, because we feel our power. And I always like to say, find your inner Ukrainian. I mentioned this before, not on Substack Live, but right around the new year, there was somebody who was in Ukraine, a black man. He was some kind of reporter. I don't know who he was. I came across it by chance. And it was a New Year's Eve celebration in Ukraine. And there were food vendors, there was music, there was lightheartedness, there was celebration in Ukraine. And that shifted me. That really showed me, look, those people are going through so much, but they're finding a way to keep their energy high and optimistic. We're not caving in. We're doing what we can, but we're not looking at it and going, oh, I hope this stops happening. We're not doing that. Because our optimism and our hope comes from when we say, look at what we're doing to change it. And what we've come to right now, in this time that we're in, is we've come to the awareness. The reason it hasn't changed is because the universe is waiting for us. And I don't mean to have anybody, here who's listening to this feel like, oh, well, that's too hard, or, can't see how that's going to happen, because it is happening. In certain areas, and I'll keep my ear to the ground on this. In certain areas, they have stopped the planning of the purchase of these warehouses. They literally want to put people in warehouses, packed in like sardines, like the slave trade ships. We're not doing this. We're not going back to World War II. We're not going back to the Holocaust, and we're not going back to treating people like they're slaves coming over on a boat. We're not doing that. We're just not. So just like personally, when somebody crosses over the line, you say, excuse me, get out of here. I don't want you in my proximity. So let's say to this regime, excuse us, not one of you is qualified. It's questionable how you got into office. We'll get into that at another time. Get out. Get out. This is our country, and we're taking our country back. We're drawing the line, we're setting the boundary, and we're taking our country back from the enemies within. Hang in there. Keep the faith. I am writing a Substack. I'll probably finish it within the next couple of days. And I'll see you real soon. If you follow me on my channel, we're gonna, in 1/2 hour from when I'm recording this, we'll be doing a meditation time. So like we do every single week. So I almost decided to discontinue it, but people said they like it. So we'll be doing that in a little while. So I'll meet you over there. It's Thursday night. That's what we do. And I like to say, namaste. See you soon.